Bright lights, screaming crowds, and rides engineered to thrill, not to kill. Amusement parks are supposed to be the safest place to chase adrenaline, and a fun day out turns into a fatal headline. These aren't tragic mechanical failures or unavoidable accidents. These are deaths that happen because someone did something unbelievably reckless. From riders standing up mid-ride to climbing where no one was ever meant to go. These are the 5 most stupid amusement park deaths ever recorded, and every single one could have been avoided.
At some point throughout the 2 minutes and 26-second ride, the forces generated by the coaster caused his wife's baseball hat to fall to the ground.
It always starts small. A hat lifted by the wind. A laugh, a split-second decision that feels harmless, and then everything goes wrong. In 1998, at California's Great America, a simple mistake turned fatal. A man watched his wife's hat fly off a roller coaster and land beneath the track while the ride was still operating. Most people would have shrugged it off, maybe told the staff, maybe walked away. He didn't. He slipped through a door, clearly marked "Do Not Enter," climbed over a 6-foot fence and stepped into a place no guest is ever meant to be. Seconds later, as the coaster roared overhead, a rider's dangling foot slammed into his head at full speed. He collapsed. Within an hour, he was dead. The cruel twist. Authorities later said he only spoke Spanish and couldn't read the English warning signs that might have saved his life. A hat worth a few dollars had just cost someone everything. And this wasn't an isolated moment of madness. Years later, at Six Flags Over Georgia, witnesses watched in disbelief as a 17-year-old on a church trip made the same fatal choice. He'd lost his hat on the Batman ride. Instead of letting it go, he scaled 2 6-foot fences, ignored multiple danger signs, and entered the restricted zone beneath the coaster. The ride was still running, going nearly 50 miles per hour. In front of shocked onlookers, the teenager was struck and instantly decapitated before anyone could even react. His friend, who had followed him into the area, survived. He would have to live with that moment forever. The pattern kept repeating. A groundskeeper wandered beneath the same Batman coaster years earlier and was struck in the head by a rider's dangling leg dead on the spot. Employees, trained professionals, were seriously injured retrieving objects from active tracks, hats, phones, loose items, trivial things that suddenly mattered more than survival. Every warning was there, every fence, every sign. Every locked gate existed for one reason: to keep people alive. But thrill parks have a way of making danger feel distant, unreal, like it only applies to other people, until it doesn't. These weren't freak malfunctions. These weren't unavoidable tragedies. These were moments where curiosity, impatience, or stubborn confidence whispered, "I'll be fine." And the rides answered back with unforgiving force. Next time something slips from your head on a roller coaster, remember this. No souvenir is worth stepping into the shadow of a moving machine that doesn't know or care that you're there. At Florida's Icon Park, a routine evening ride turned into a tense ordeal when the park's Ferris wheel lost power, stranding more than 60 riders high above the ground. The unexpected power outage caused the massive wheel to stop spinning, leaving passengers stuck in midair in precarious positions.
Oh, dude, it's on fire! Holy fuck! I got a fire department! Oh, great, they're already here!
Emergency services were swiftly called to the scene, and firefighters used ladders to carefully evacuate those trapped in the gondolas. In August 2024, visitors at Six Flags Mexico in Mexico City faced a harrowing experience when the Sky Screamer ride, also known as Supergirl Sky Flight, malfunctioned during a sudden storm. ride, which elevates passengers to a height of 242 feet, came to an unexpected halt, leaving riders suspended midair amidst heavy rainfall.
¿Qué pedo? Nos está comiendo un buen saltador con nosotros.
A man was launched off a water slide at a resort in Tennessee, USA, and it didn't go quite well for him.
Featuring a light show, or enclosed in a capsule as a door opens beneath you.
He was on a ride known as the Aqua Loop at the Rocky Top water slide in Pigeon Forge when the malfunction occurred, sending him flying into the rocky area.
It's supposed to be scary, but not this scary. Watch Dallas resident David Salmon use his arm to try to steer himself down a slide near Austin, Texas. It's even more frightening in normal speed.
Some people decided to spend some time at an amusement park in Oregon, but little did they know that they were about to have an experience of a lifetime.
Bro, it's really broken. Yeah.
The rotor ride that they were enjoying got stuck at the highest point in the air. One can clearly see in the video how the rotor is neither moving back nor forth. Well, people said they were stuck there for half an hour before being rescued.
Right now. That's crazy. Bro, they're really wild. Workers just over there laughing, just trying to turn it on, but they're not over here calling somebody. They need to call somebody. What are y'all doing? Those are.
On July 14th, 2019, a tragic incident occurred at the Kankaria Adventure Park in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, India. A popular pendulum-style ride, known as the Discovery, malfunctioned mid-operation, causing the ride's arm to snap. This failure resulted in the seats crashing to the ground, leading to the loss of 2 individuals and injuries to 29 others. On March the 24th, 2022, a tragic incident occurred at Icon Park in Orlando, Florida, involving the Orlando Freefall ride. 14-year-old Tyre Sampson from St. Louis, Missouri, fell and passed from the 430-foot-tall attraction. Investigations revealed that the ride's safety sensors had been manually adjusted to accommodate larger riders, allowing the restraint harness to be improperly secured, which led to Sampson's fatal fall. A carnival ride turned into a nightmare when this happened. The ride malfunctioned and began to spin out of control until some of the seats lost their fasteners and crashed. the onlookers could barely hold their patience as they raced to check on their loved ones.
Action Park is perhaps the most infamous amusement park of all time. Their rides were poorly designed, their safety record was shocking, and their juvenile staff were underpaid and undertrained. It was estimated that up to 100 people per summer would leave the park seriously injured, with people often joking, "I managed to survive Action Park."
It was July 8, 1980, a clear summer day at Action Park in Vernon, New Jersey. For 19-year-old George Larson Jr., it was supposed to be nothing more than a fun escape from reality, a day of adrenaline, sun, and laughter. He couldn't have known that the ride he was about to take would seal his fate, or that his death would become part of the dark legend of a place the world would later call Class Action Park. At the time, Action Park was still young, only 2 years old, but its reputation was already infamous. Locals whispered about it. Parents warned their kids. This wasn't a park built around safety or caution. It was built around pushing limits, and no ride embodied that better than the Alpine Slide. The Alpine Slide stretched 10,700 feet down the side of the mountain, a winding ribbon of concrete and fiberglass designed to simulate control while offering almost none. Riders sat on flimsy plastic sleds, gripping a single handbrake that was supposed to regulate speed. In reality, it was a gamble. Pull too lightly, and you'd fly downhill at terrifying speeds. Pull too hard, and the rider behind you could smash straight into your back. Every run was a roll of the dice. George climbed onto his sled that afternoon like thousands before him. Maybe he laughed it off. Maybe he felt that nervous buzz in his chest. The track ahead twisted sharply, dipped steeply, and promised a thrill that felt just dangerous enough to be fun. Families watched from below, unaware that one of them was witnessing a tragedy about to unfold. Midway down the course, everything went wrong. As George entered a sharp curve, witnesses say the sled jolted violently and lifted off the track. In a split second, he was airborne. Then came the sound no one forgets. His head slammed into a boulder with devastating force. The cheers vanished. Panic replaced them instantly. Park employees rushed to the scene, but the damage was already done. George lay unconscious, gravely injured. He was rushed to the hospital, where doctors fought to keep him alive. For 8 long days, his family kept vigil at his bedside, clinging to hope, refusing to let go. But the injuries were too severe. On July 16, 1980, George Larson Jr. died. He was just 19 years old. What emerged afterward made his death even harder to accept. The Alpine Slide wasn't just risky, it was notorious. Former employees later admitted that injuries were so constant, the park had purchased its own ambulance to deal with the endless flow of wounded guests. Broken bones, deep cuts, concussions. It was routine. Dozens of people were hurt on busy days, and still, the rides stayed open. Safety took a backseat to spectacle. Profit mattered more than protection. George's death should have been the moment everything stopped. The moment Action Park's owner, Gene Mulvihill, was forced to reckon with the danger he'd built into his park. But nothing really changed. The Alpine Slide continued operating. More people were injured, and the park's reputation grew darker with every passing summer. Locals gave it nicknames: Accident Park, Traction Park, Class Action Park, jokes that masked a brutal reality. By the time the park's story was over, 6 people would lose their lives there, and countless others would leave with scars, physical and emotional, that never fully healed. George Larson Jr. wasn't just a statistic. He was one of the first reminders that when safety is treated as optional, fun can turn fatal in an instant. On July 8, 2021, in Traverse City, Cherry Festival, Michigan, USA, a ride malfunctioned. First, the ride made a noise like something snapped and started going full throttle and went at 3 times the speed it normally goes, and then it started to tip back and forth. Concerned individuals rushed to help keep it in place, but in the end, there were no injuries and no one was hurt.
Oh my God.
In this next clip, a man who innocently tried to save a dog in an amusement park ended up having what was probably the worst day of his life. The clip shows a rotor moving back and forth at a high speed. Then, as the rotor goes up, a dog goes under it, so the man tries to pick the animal up. But right at that moment, the rotor comes back down and hits the man hard, sending him to the ground. He ended up at the hospital. Sometimes the accidents that happen at theme parks are hilarious, but that doesn't make them any less dangerous. Sometimes the most hilarious are the most dangerous. In this video, one can see a swing ride rotating at a high speed, and there are a couple of vehicles parked beside it. As the swing begins to slow down, the seats are level with the red vehicle, and that's the problem. The riders crash into the vehicle, one after the other. Did the employees not think it through? It was a clear summer morning in Stockholm, the kind that feels made for laughter. Gröna Lund, Sweden's oldest amusement park, was already buzzing with life. Families strolled between rides, children tugged at their parents' hands, and the warm June air carried the promise of another perfect day. But at around 11:30 a.m., in just a few terrifying seconds, that joy collapsed into chaos. The Jetline roller coaster stood tall over the park, a steel giant that had been thrilling riders for decades. It rose nearly 30 meters into the sky and tore through its track at speeds close to 90 kilometers per hour. For years, it had run without a serious incident. That morning, 14 people climbed aboard, locked their restraints, and braced for the familiar rush. Then came the sound. A sharp, violent metallic crack cut through the air. Wrong, unmistakable, final. Witnesses said the track began to shake, not slightly but violently, as if the ride itself were coming apart. Moments later, the impossible happened. The front car lifted off the rails. It twisted, tilted, and hurled passengers through open space. A woman in her 30s was thrown from the ride and slammed into the ground below. She died instantly. The train jerked to a stop high above the park, leaving riders trapped in their seats, screaming and crying. 9 others were injured, several of them critically. Below, panic exploded. Parents scooped up their children. Visitors ran without knowing where to go. Within minutes, the sound of sirens swallowed the park as police and paramedics rushed in, pushing past food stalls and ride queues that had been filled with laughter just moments earlier. Later that day, Gröna Lund's CEO, Jan Eriksson, stood before cameras, visibly shaken. His voice faltered as he spoke. Something like this should not happen at Gröna Lund, he said quietly, and yet it did. For the first time in its 140-year history, the park declared a day of mourning. Journalist Jenny Lagerstedt was there with her family when it happened. She later described hearing the metallic noise, then seeing the track tremble. Her husband watched in disbelief as a roller coaster car, with people still inside, fell toward the ground. "My children were terrified," she said, her voice breaking as she recalled the moment. When investigators began piecing together what went wrong, the truth was deeply unsettling. This wasn't the result of age, weather, or some freak accident. The failure came from newly installed support arms that weren't strong enough to handle the stress. The metal snapped under pressure, causing the wheels to detach from the car. A hidden design flaw, small, unseen, and overlooked, had turned deadly. The park shut down immediately, not just for the day but indefinitely. All tickets were refunded, shows were canceled, and the jet line was closed forever. Park spokeswoman Annika Troselius addressed the public with a trembling voice, saying it was vital to uncover every detail of what had happened. Across Sweden, shock rippled through the country. Culture Minister Parisa Liljestrand called the incident incomprehensible. Gröna Lund wasn't just an amusement park, it was a summer ritual, a place tied to childhood memories and family traditions. Seeing it transformed into a site of death felt unreal. In the hours that followed, the park fell silent. The screams were gone. The laughter disappeared. Police drones hummed softly overhead as investigators worked. Flowers began to appear at the entrance, left by strangers who needed somewhere to put their grief. Where joy once lived, only disbelief remained. During a temple fair in Sihe County, located in northwest China's Gansu province, a tragic accident occurred when a chair swing ride suddenly collapsed. The incident caused chaos and panic among attendees as the structure gave way. Reports indicate that 9 people were injured, with some requiring immediate medical attention. These people were in for a wild ride. A packed ride at Rye Playland near Westchester, New York, recently malfunctioned, causing it to spin in reverse for 10 minutes.
This is why you don't get on these rides. This is why you don't get on these rides, dog. You see, I would have been on there. Crazy, that's scary. With my kids. Hell no. That's crazy. That's a lawsuit. That's a lawsuit. Yo, 2 minutes already. They've been like 10 minutes. 10 minutes more.
A video of the harrowing incident on the Music Express shows concerned employees and parkgoers on its perimeter helplessly watching until it was brought under control.
Yeah. Hell no. Nah, down, we're straight. That's a sign, go home. That's a sign, go home. I'm not getting no more rides. I'm done, I'm gonna go home.
A horrible accident was caught on camera at an amusement park. The video started with laughter and cheers until this happened. One of the riders somehow leaned too far away and ended up falling out, probably even hitting his face against the railings. A group of people on a giant swing had another story to tell after the unexpected happened.
Demeyin, binmeyin buna. Bu kadar. Buna binmeyin. Aşırı korkutucu, buna binmeyin. Kesin binmeyin. Buna binerseniz iş bitti. Melisa şu an hava atmaya çalışıyor, Maori yüküşünü yapmaya çalışıyor. Ama birazdan olacak biraz. Bekle bak, birazdan
The ride swung for a while, and then without warning, it snapped, causing the people to crash to the ground upside down.
Biraz havayı göstersene, bir tavanın havayı göstersene. Arkadaşlar biraz daha şuraya kadar. Arkadaşlar kaza! 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 Kaza!
This footage shows a heroic park worker dangling from a ride after the wind caused it to move without warning. A 12-year-old girl was not properly secured when the ride started moving. The brave worker climbed up when the ride became still and was able to close the door before it started moving again. The ride was closed for the rest of the day, and no one was hurt. Two students were taken to hospital after a panel came flying off a fairground ride mid-air at a university fun day. The drama unfolded at Chestival, a day of activities arranged by Chester Students' Union.
You can't see that.
The event had been underway for just over an hour when a piece of the Superstar ride, billed as a thrilling whirlwind at superspeed by organizers, broke free and collided with two of the ride's fast-moving cars before hurtling to the ground.
New tonight out of Arlington, a woman has died after falling off of a roller coaster.
Six Flags Over Texas confirms the woman was riding the Texas Giant coaster just after 6:30 this evening when she fell.
It was a warm summer night at Six Flags Over Texas on July 19, 2013. The park was alive. Kids darting between rides, couples sharing funnel cakes, roller coasters roaring in the distance like thunder that never stopped. Among the crowd was 52-year-old Rosa Ayala Esparza. It was her very first time at an amusement park. She was there with her daughter and son-in-law, smiling, laughing, taking it all in. It was supposed to be a happy memory. Instead, it would become the last night her family ever saw her alive. As the evening stretched on and people began heading for the exits, Rosa wanted one final ride. Just one more. Something thrilling to end the night. They walked toward the new Texas Giant, a massive hybrid coaster of wood and steel, freshly redesigned to be faster, steeper, more intense than ever before. It towered over the park, its tracks slicing through the dark sky like a warning no one wanted to hear. Rosa didn't hesitate. She stepped forward, climbed into the third car, and pulled down the lap restraint. Almost immediately, she felt it. Something wasn't right. Witnesses later said Rosa shifted in her seat, tugging at the bar across her lap. It didn't feel tight. It didn't feel locked. Nervous, she looked to a nearby employee and asked the question that should have stopped everything. "Is this secure?" The response came quickly, casually, with a reassuring smile. "If you heard it click, you're fine." The ride operator moved on. The train began to roll. That sentence would echo painfully in the hours that followed. The coaster climbed slowly, the sound of chains clicking louder with every foot it rose. From below, it looked spectacular. From Rosa's seat, it felt terrifying. The restraint sat too high. As the train crested the first drop, her body lurched violently. Her arms shot out as instinct took over. Then came the turns. Sharp, fast, unforgiving. Screams filled the air, but not the kind people pay for. These were screams of panic. Her daughter heard them. When she turned to look, time seemed to freeze. Rosa was slipping out of her seat. She was twisted, nearly upside down, her head hanging low as gravity fought to pull her free. Passengers behind her reached forward, yelling, stretching their hands, desperate to grab her. But the train was already accelerating again, climbing higher, faster, drowning out their cries with the scream of steel on steel. And then she was gone. Rosa was thrown from the coaster. Her family watched in horror as she disappeared over the edge, her body vanishing into the darkness below. There was nothing they could do. When emergency crews reached the area, the reality was devastating. Rosa had struck a metal support beam. The impact was catastrophic. The scene left behind was so severe it took more than an hour for responders to recover her remains from the rooftop beneath the ride. As investigators pieced together what happened, disturbing details began to surface. Employees quietly admitted they had noticed Rosa's restraint wasn't sitting properly, that it was higher than it should have been. Yet no one stopped the ride. The park released a statement claiming there was no mechanical failure, insisting the coaster operated exactly as designed. But rumors spread quickly. Whispers of a malfunction earlier that same week. Stories from guests who said they'd nearly slipped from their seats on the very same ride. One woman came forward and said her daughter had almost fallen out of that exact car just days before Rosa's death. She said she warned park staff. Nothing changed. Police eventually ruled the death an accident. No charges, no accountability, just paperwork and silence. For Rosa's family, that silence was unbearable. They filed a lawsuit, not for money, but for answers. For their mother, for the grandmother who trusted the ride, for the woman whose final moments were filled with fear, while the rest of the train screamed for fun. 2 months later, the new Texas Giant reopened. New restraints, new seatbelts, same track, same music, same laughter. There was no memorial, no plaque, no acknowledgement of the woman who never made it off the ride. Just another coaster running through the night, over the place where Rosa Ayala Esparza took her last breath. In a recent incident at a fair in Mohali, Punjab, India, a carnival ride went haywire, causing it to plummet approximately 50 feet, resulting in injuries to multiple riders. The ride, which had been operating without issues, suddenly failed, leading to the fall. A fair ride turned into a nightmare for both riders and onlookers in China when this happened. The ride, a flying swing, spun around and with no warning, it collapsed, sending people crashing to the ground. The onlookers scrambled to reach their loved ones. On February 13, 2021, a devastating accident took place at an amusement park in Shaoyang County, Hunan Province, China. A flying chair swing ride malfunctioned mid-operation, causing the chairs to suddenly plummet to the ground. The incident left visitors in shock and raised serious concerns about ride safety and maintenance. 16 people were injured, including 3 who sustained serious injuries. On the same day, a tragic incident occurred at an amusement park in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, India. A pendulum-style ride, known for swinging passengers high into the air, suddenly malfunctioned mid-operation. The ride broke apart, leading to the loss of 2 individuals and injuring dozens more. Fire is not a respecter of people, and it can break out anywhere. A normal day turned into horror for visitors and everyone present at the park on this day. To say they were all frightened would not be an overstatement. There was a massive fire outburst on Tom Sawyer's Island. A camera captured flames shooting up, and eyewitnesses confirmed that it happened shortly after the commencement of the Mac Show. A lot of guests had to be evacuated immediately in order to avoid losing their lives.
This performance cannot continue due to unforeseen circumstances. Thank you.
At Germany's largest theme park, Europa Park in Rust, a tragic incident unfolded during a live show when a pool cracked, causing diving platforms to collapse. The accident injured several performers who were part of the production, leading to immediate chaos and panic among the audience. During what should have been an ordinary ride, a roller coaster failed to ascend properly, leading to a shocking and chaotic incident. As the train began its climb, a mechanical failure abruptly halted its progress, leaving it stranded on the lift hill. Eyewitness accounts describe the unsettling sound of grinding metal before the train slid backward, colliding with the section of track below. A 9-year-old girl panicked after realizing her seat wasn't buckled on a fair ride in Mobile, Alabama. The video showed her sitting calmly as others strapped in, but she lost it the moment she realized her seat was unbuckled. The ride was stopped midway and brought back down. In an interview with WKRG, a director for the Greater Gulf State Fair said the primary safety device was engaged, but the safety buckle was not. On July 4, 2016, an alleged incident occurred on SAW, the the ride at Thorpe Park, where the roller coaster reportedly went off track. While Thorpe Park may have tried to downplay or conceal the event to protect its reputation, a guest managed to capture footage of the incident, ensuring it couldn't be dismissed as fake. This incident took place in Dublin, California during the Wave Water Park's grand opening on May 27, 2017. The 10-year-old boy was treated for a scratched shoulder after he was launched from the Emerald Plunge, a 3-story water slide, and landed on the concrete exit next to the ride. This video captures 2 grown men enjoying a water slide, laughing and having a great time. However, their fun took a sudden turn when they were overturned midway through the slide, bringing their ride to an unexpected and abrupt end. It was a warm, late summer afternoon at Waterworld in Stoke-on-Trent, the kind of day the park was built for. Laughter echoed off tiled walls, water crashed and splashed, and families crowded the pools, chasing one last burst of fun before the day ended. In the lagoon area, a 4-year-old girl played among the waves, just another small figure in a sea of joy. No one watching could have imagined how quickly everything was about to change. At around 4:15 p.m., the unthinkable happened. The little girl was found unconscious in the water. The music, the laughter, the carefree noise, all of it vanished in an instant. Shouts for help ripped through the air as lifeguards sprinted toward her. She was pulled from the pool, her tiny body laid out on the cold tiles as CPR began immediately. Parents grabbed their children and turned them away, shielding young eyes from a scene no one should ever have to witness. The lagoon was cleared. What had been a place of excitement just moments earlier became eerily quiet, filled only with urgent voices, compressions, and mounting fear. By 4:20 p.m., police and ambulances had arrived, blue lights flashing outside the park. Paramedics worked desperately, stabilizing her as best they could before rushing her to hospital. For a brief moment, hope flickered. But despite every effort, from lifeguards, emergency crews, and doctors, the outcome could not be changed. The little girl died later that day. Shock spread through the park. Families who had been there spoke in hushed tones, struggling to process how fast joy had turned into tragedy. Waterworld, proudly known as the UK's #1 tropical indoor aqua park, fell into mourning. That evening, the park announced it would close, not just out of respect, but because every staff member had been shaken by what they'd witnessed. It is with great sadness that we learned of this little girl's passing, a spokesperson said. Our thoughts are with her family and loved ones during this incredibly difficult time. Staffordshire Police confirmed the death soon after. Detective Chief Inspector Lucy Maskew addressed the public with compassion, urging restraint. Our thoughts are with the family at this terribly sad time, she said. We are now working to establish the circumstances surrounding the incident and ask that people do not speculate while the family grieves. And so, the bright blues and tropical colors of Waterworld's lagoon were forever stained by loss. For one family, a day meant to create happy memories ended in unimaginable heartbreak. The water that had carried laughter only moments before became a silent witness to a life taken far too soon. Answers may come with time, but for now, all that remains is grief.